사진이나 찍을까? 중앙에 있으니까.
아, 이거 조심해야 돼. 이거 진짜 뚫려 있다니까.
같이 한번 셀카를
셀카
찍어봅시다.
찍을까?
네, 괜찮죠.
다리 한가운데. 우와!
이게 맞겠지? 내가 잘하고 있는 게 맞겠지? 연정아 나오는다.
오, 지원.
연정 언니가 사진 잘 찍거든요. 하얀색 상어. 저거 뭐야? 저 상어야? 상어야? 피어를 나는 이빨 없는 착한 상어. 이게 뭐야?
신발 벗고 앉아요?
맞대.
떨린다.
진짜 무서운데?
웃겨. 아니 막상 넣으니까 안 무서워.
나도. 아니
조금
다
무서워.
도망가셨어.
조금 무서워.
아니 여기 뒤에 있어.
잠깐만 무서운 애들 오는데?
아니야, 너무.
와 이거 진짜 평생 못 잊을 추억이야.
알렉스, 제임스, come here.
제임스. 제임스 오셨어.
제임스,
여기 있어 어떻게?
come here. 아, 이거
여기 있어 언니 밑에.
두두두두두.
잠깐만 어때요? 어때?
우리 약간 꺼려하는 것 같으니까 아까 우리 반겨주는 닥터피쉬랑.
좋아요. 그러면 이제 닥터피쉬를 하러 가볼까요?
고고고고고.
닥터피쉬 진짜 좋아하거든요.
얘들아 먹어보렴.
잠깐만요. 너무너무 간지러운데? 너무 간지러워. 나 사진 영상 찍어야겠다, 나도.
인기 폭발, 인기 대폭발. 대박이에요.
아니, 잠깐 언니 제 발 봐봐요. 나 심해요, 너무. 아니, 아니, 너무 심해요, 이거. 좀 부끄러운데?
동아리까지 붙었어요. 동아리까지.
원래 이래요?
저희가 오늘 돌아본 파주 여행편도 너무너무 좋았고 일단 오프닝부터 되게 마음 아픈 곳에부터 이제 저희가 시작을 했잖아요. 이제 6.25 전쟁 때 일어났던 곳을 저희가 한번 다시 체험해보면서 저희도 이제 역사를 다시 한번 머리에 새긴 기억이 됐는데 저희 역사에 한 번 더 관심을 가져주셨으면 좋겠고 그리고 볼 것도 너무너무 많았는데 딱 하나 고를 수가 없으니까 한번 시간을 넉넉히 잡으시고 파주를 다 돌아보셨으면 좋겠습니다.
그리고 저희가 오늘 갔던 곳 말고도 파주에 되게 아름다운 곳들이 많더라고요. 시간이 남으신다면 곤돌라도 한번 타보시고 수목원도 있더라고요. 그래서 수목원도 한번 보면서 힐링하셨으면 좋겠습니다.
여러분 꼭 파주로 놀러 오세요. 크리스타그램.
held its first debate over the weekend, too.
The economy is expected
도시는 세계와 연결되어 문화를 창조했고 새로운 것을 받아들였다.
함께여서 우리는 더 자유롭고 더 멀리 갈 수 있어.
닫힌 문이 아니라 열린 질문으로.
나에게 에이펙은
자유,
융합,
국제성,
다양성, 포용,
개발.
신라의 정신이 에이펙 2025로 이어집니다.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. World leaders, including those from Russia and India, are in the Chinese port city of Tianjin for the summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, as China tries to counter U.S. influence. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who's set to attend a military parade in Beijing this week, is also expected to board a train to China's capital city today. Severe drought in South Korea's coastal city of Gangneung has left its main reservoir capacity at its lowest ever level, making daily routines such as showering and laundry difficult for residents. A state of national disaster has been declared in the city, with fire department water tankers set to be deployed to the region today. South Korea, currently serving a 2-year term as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, will assume the rotating presidency of the Council for the month of September. We begin in China, where the country's diplomatic super week is underway, kicking off with the SCO summit in Tianjin over the weekend and rolling into Wednesday's Victory Day parade in Beijing. Beyond the optics, two pairings are in focus: China-India and China-North Korea, as Xi met Modi in Tianjin, and Kim Jong-un is expected to begin his train ride to Beijing today. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
Around 20 heads of state have gathered for the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Tianjin, China, with Chinese President Xi Jinping casting the meeting as a rallying point for the global south. Starting on Sunday and running until Monday, this year's SCO, which is known for its counterstance against the West, is the biggest so far, with Russian President Vladimir Putin and India's Narendra Modi in attendance.
At this summit, we are tasked with an important mission to build consensus among all parties, ignite momentum for cooperation, and draw up a blueprint for development.
Reports indicate a Tianjin declaration will follow, addressing trade and security following tariffs imposed by the United States. On the sidelines, Xi held back-to-back bilaterals, including with India's Narendra Modi, Turkey, and Vietnam, framing cooperation and mutual respect as the way forward. Among them, the Xi-Modi summit garnered a lot of attention. After years of frosty ties, the two leaders agreed the world's two biggest Asian economies should be partners, not rivals, a carefully worded signal that both sides want to steady ties. Particularly as India has been hit with a 50% tariff by the U.S. and China is still working with the U.S. on its rate.
Our cooperation is closely linked to the interests of our 2.8 billion people and also the global development. We are committed to advancing our bilateral relations based on mutual trust, respect, and consideration.
This event isn't where China's hosting role stops. Later this week, the 80th anniversary of Victory Day will be celebrated in Beijing's Tiananmen Square, with leaders from across the globe joining. For South Korea, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Woo-won-sik, is set to attend. One key highlight is North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's visit. He is expected to board a train to Beijing on Monday to attend the Victory Day military parade. Multiple signs point to Kim traveling by rail, which takes roughly 20 to 24 hours from Pyongyang. Hotels in the Chinese border city of Dandong have reportedly restricted foreign bookings, while some train services have been suspended. Kim has traveled to Beijing 4 times, twice by train and twice by private plane. 김도현, Arirang News.
So as we just heard, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is expected to board a train to Beijing, and all eyes are now on whether there will be a three-way summit between the leaders of China, Russia, and North Korea. For more on this, we're joined by Professor Mason Ritchie, Professor of International Politics at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Professor Ritchie, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So with North Korea's Kim Jong-un set to attend the military parade in Beijing this week on Wednesday, he's likely to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian leader Vladimir Putin there. Could this serve as an opportunity for the three countries, North Korea, China, and Russia, to strengthen their cooperation against the West?
Yeah, I think there's little doubt that all three leaders are happy to get to broadcast alignment against the West, especially I guess this is critical following how South Korea has continued to improve its relations with Japan, first under Yoon Suk-yeol and now under Lee Jae-myung, which fits into the larger trilateral cooperation with the United States, which in turn fits into a larger U.S. Indo-Pacific strategy of leveraging alliances in order to put pressure on these three countries, especially China. However, beyond that sort of broadcasting alignment, I think things get a little bit trickier below the surface, especially for North Korea and China. In the case of China, I don't really think that China actually wants this type of sustained and deep trilateral cooperation with Russia. And North Korea wants to maintain a little bit more of a standoff distance, I think, especially than Russia might want. So China, I think, under Xi wants this to be more of a threat than a reality, so to speak. And as for North Korea, it may be pivoting in some sense back to China as the Ukraine war is starting to wind down. And North Korea is perhaps even also beginning to lay some of the diplomatic groundwork for improved relations with the U.S. and negotiations with the Trump administration.
Right, and Kim Jong-un, he rarely leaves his regime, and this is believed to be the first time for the North Korean leader to take part at a gathering, of foreign leaders. What might North Korea try to gain from this trip, and what message might it deliver at this event?
Yeah, this is a fairly historic trip that Kim Jong-un is taking, in the first place for himself, going to his first big multilateral gathering like this. It's also the first time that a North Korea leader has come to this Victory Day celebration since, I believe, 1959 when Kim Il-sung came. Kim Il-sung also went to the Bucharest Comic-Con in the early 1970s. But other than that, North Korea has very rarely, if ever, on a leader level, engaged in these types of multilateral meetings and multilateral engagements. So in that sense, I think it's a pretty big deal. What North Korea is looking to do, as I said, I think, clearly Kim wants to improve relations with China, which have cooled somewhat during the Ukraine war when Pyongyang and Russia built up their axis of cooperation. And so as the war in Ukraine is starting to wind down, I think it makes sense, of course, for North Korea to want to pivot back to China in some way. And then in the second place, as I also mentioned earlier, I think that North Korea is beginning to think somewhat about how it might take advantage of the possibilities of the Trump administration in terms of meeting with the United States, and so laying the groundwork here, having discussions in advance, with Xi, I think serves to go in that direction in some sense.
Right, it really is a historic trip for North Korea indeed. And some analysts say the North Korean leader's debut on the multilateral stage could signal an opening for dialogue with the United States. What's your take on this? How likely is it, do you think, that the regime will return to talks with Washington and possibly even Seoul?
Sure. So over the last weeks, signals have gotten a little warmer out of Pyongyang in terms of the willingness on their side to meet with the Trump administration. But that's starting from an extremely low level of readiness to do so. So I don't think that we can read too much into this at this point. I think the real thing that they've made clear is that if North Korea meets with the United States, it wants to do so on the leader level. And it wants to do so under the condition that denuclearization is not on the table. Under normal circumstances, I would say that this is a non-starter, but I would simply point out that Trump, when he had the summit with Lee Jae-myung, at least publicly, did not bring up denuclearization of North Korea. Trump brought up denuclearization, strangely enough, in the context of China and Russia, but not specifically with respect to North Korea. Maybe that was just a slip of the tongue, and later Lee Jae-myung seemed to indicate that he was on the same page with Trump in terms of aiming at denuclearization of North Korea. But there's at least a little bit of daylight there in which one could see that, perhaps a world in which the United States would be willing to talk with Kim without that precondition. As for South Korea, I haven't seen any indication from North Korea that they're willing to open the door to talks with South Korea, which is consistent with the way that they have approached this country ever since 2019. So I would be surprised if that happens, unless there's something happening with the United States, and the United States expressly wanted South Korea to be a part of it.
I see. I guess we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Rich, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for having me.
South Korea is set to assume the rotating presidency of the United Nations Security Council in September. Seoul will oversee all official and informal meetings that represent the Council in engagements with other UN member states and agencies. During the month-long term, South Korea is expected to shape discussions on the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the war in Ukraine. The Council's 15-member countries take on the rotating presidency in alphabetical order, each serving for 1 month. South Korea is currently serving a 2-year term as a non-permanent member of the Security Council. The drought in South Korea's eastern coastal city of Gangneung has led to a full-blown national emergency. President Lee Jae-myung has declared a state of national disaster for the region. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Over in the eastern coastal city of Gangneung, a water scarcity crisis has escalated into a full-blown national emergency. Oldboy Reservoir, the city's main water source, has dropped below 15% capacity, the lowest ever recorded level. This comes despite the emergency pumping of 10,000 tons of water a day from a temporary downstream station. But officials say the decline has not slowed, with new record lows being set daily, while the so-called Maginot Line for drinking and household water has collapsed. Water meters are being shut off at 75% capacity just 11 days after restrictions were first imposed at 50%. Public officials and community leaders are carrying out the shutoffs, but residents are already feeling the strain, with daily routines like showering, laundry, and cooking becoming increasingly difficult and damage to crops mounting.
The most important part is sharing in your commitment to conserve water, even if it means shortening operations.
On Saturday, President Lee Jae-myung declared Gangneung a state of national disaster. The decision followed a drought response meeting in the city, where Lee ordered ministries to act immediately. The declaration gives the government legal authority to mobilize personnel, equipment, and emergency supplies to ease the crisis. The president also issued a firefighting mobilization order. 50 fire department water tankers will be deployed to the region, delivering an extra 2,000 tons of water every day. In preparation for the worst-case scenario where even drinking water may run out, Gangneung has been stockpiling bottled water. More than 1 million bottles have already been collected, filling the parking lot of a large gymnasium. Distribution has begun for daycare centers and welfare facilities, and direct deliveries are planned for residents with mobility issues. But rain remains elusive in Gangneung. While showers are expected nationwide on Monday, Gangneung is forecast to receive only 5 to 10 millimeters. Meteorologists say no significant rainfall is likely before September 10th. So far this year, the city has recorded just over 404 millimeters of rain, only 42% of the annual average. Gangneung residents are now bracing for weeks, if not months, of disruption. With reservoirs at record lows, officials warn that the city is confronting not just a severe drought, but a test of survival. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
This year marks 30 years since Korea set up an office of its foreign aid agency in Uzbekistan for development assistance. Celebrating this milestone, a team of reporters explored how Korea is helping build resilience against the harsh impact of climate change. Our Oh Soo-young was there.
Formerly the world's fourth largest lake with a vibrant fishing industry, the once vast waters of the Aral Sea are now known as the Ship Cemetery. Over 60 years, due to Soviet cotton farming projects that consumed its rivers, the Aral Sea is just now a tenth of what it was. Trade and livelihoods have dried up with the ecosystem.
There used to be plenty of food here. There were many sturgeon, and we could get caviar. After the Aral Sea dried up, many moved away.
The surrounding Republic of Karakalpakstan constitutes over a third of Uzbekistan's landmass, but less than 6% of the population lives here. Desertification has led to frequent salt, sand and dust storms, making it broadly inhospitable for people and vegetation.
Heavily salinated, with sodium flying in from the Aral Sea, this is basically now a wasteland. Even weeds are unable to grow here.
But recently, sprigs of hope are changing the barren landscape. Since 2021, the Korea International Cooperation Agency has funded the Global Green Growth Institute to help 4 districts of Karakalpakstan overcome the impact of climate disasters. Under the 4-year programme, nearly 18,000 people have been trained in climate-smart farming methods, with 6 targeted models designed by the GGGI. One solution is planting windbreak trees to shield fields and crops from salt-laden winds. Drip irrigation and new hose-reel sprinkler systems provided through Korean funds save water and improve soil quality.
We've been farming the same way for the last 45 years. The Aral Sea's growing impact has been long known, but until now, there wasn't enough interest in finding a solution.
His field is now part of that solution, growing over 6,000 windbreak seedlings to help other farms prosper across the region. Korean support has also helped new farmers set up shop. Partnering with Nuku City's Mono Centre, GGGI developed training for 40 unemployed residents, with 1.2 Uzbek som, or over $96,000, funding greenhouse crop production. One graduate in her 30s has scaled her home farm to a 1-hectare greenhouse business, producing tomatoes and cucumbers for export.
As much as my knowledge grew tenfold, my revenue's grown tenfold too. I was able to expand my business. Now I have 70 to 80 employees.
Separately, the GGGI provided training and equipment for 16 women with disabilities so they could set up small greenhouse spaces in the comfort of their homes. Looking ahead, KOICA and GGGI are ensuring sustainable finance for future projects nationwide, working with 2 major local banks to issue over $1 billion in green bonds listed on the London Stock Exchange.
We supported the creation of a green finance framework where funds can only be used for designated purposes. This ensures that the capital will be invested long-term in Uzbekistan's green sectors, including climate-smart agriculture.
Helping increase climate resilience and the quality of life and jobs, South Korea is working on the ground to bring winds of change for a sustainable future. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Nukus.
A much-anticipated film by a star Korean director Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice, has achieved a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. According to the film rating website, so far 17 critics have reviewed the film as of Monday, and it is as fresh as it gets. BBC's Nicholas Barber says No Other Choice isn't just Park's funniest film, but is most humane too, and that's quite something for a comedy as violent as this one. The film was unveiled at Venice Film Festival last week and received a lengthy standing ovation, heightening anticipation ahead of Saturday's announcement of the festival's top prize, the Golden Lion. Park's filmography boasts Oldboy, The Handmaiden, Decision to Leave, and Lady Vengeance.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Starting in the Middle East, Israel has announced the targeted killing of the spokesperson for Hamas' armed wing. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced on Sunday that Abu Obaida was targeted in a joint operation carried out by the military and the Shin Bet Domestic Intelligence Service. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz congratulated the Israel Defense Forces and the intelligence agency for the flawless execution. Hamas has not confirmed his death. The IDF also conducted a strike in Yemen on August 28th, killing the Houthi Prime Minister Ahmed al-Rahawi along with several senior ministers. The Houthi leadership confirmed al-Rahawi's death over the weekend, vowing to escalate strikes against Israel. The Kremlin on Sunday accused Europe of obstructing U.S. President Donald Trump's peace efforts in Ukraine. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov described the unified European stance as a European part of the war, asserting that it hinders both U.S. and Russian efforts to achieve peace in Ukraine. He said that Russia is open to diplomacy, but only if Kyiv demonstrates a readiness to negotiate. Peskov added that without a reciprocal response from Ukraine, Moscow will persist with its special military operation. European leaders refute such claims, stating they do not believe Vladimir Putin is genuinely interested in peace in Ukraine. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and French President Emmanuel Macron continue to condemn Russia's aggression and reject any peace proposal that undermines Ukraine's sovereignty. Meanwhile, Russia's defense minister reported that Moscow's territorial gains are increasing, now averaging 600 to 700 square kilometers per month, up from earlier this year. In Vatican City, Pope Leo XIV called for an end to the pandemic of arms, both large and small, on Sunday, following a school shooting in Minneapolis that resulted in the tragic loss of 2 children during Mass. The Pope delivered his appeal in his native English, a departure from his usual preference for Italian, the language of the papacy. Speaking from St. Peter's Square, he prayed for the victims and those who were injured, asking God to help curb the global spread of weapons. He also called for an immediate ceasefire in Ukraine and urged all parties to choose negotiation over violence. In Taiwan, Taipei Zoo celebrated its female panda Yuanyuan's 21st birthday on Saturday, with hundreds of visitors watching as she enjoyed a special ice cake decorated with a Winnie the Pooh carrot figure. Born in 2004, Yuanyuan arrived in Taiwan in 2008 alongside male panda Tuan Tuan under China's Panda Diplomacy Initiative. At 21, she has far exceeded the average wild panda lifespan of 14 to 20 years. Her companion, Tuan Tuan, passed away in 2022 after 18 years, but their legacy lives on through their 2 female cubs, Yuan Zai, who is 12 years old, and Yuan Bao, who is 5 years old.
So
September is starting on a rainy note. It was a rough Monday morning commute for those of us in the capital area, with strong rain of 10 to 40 millimeters per hour pounding down. And the capital area in northern inland Gangneung could see up to 100 millimeters of downpours, even more, until this afternoon, while the rest of the country could see on and off rain lingering into tomorrow. However, the east of Gangneung province will only get around 5 millimeters during the day today, which will not be enough to ease the dryness they have been dealing with lately. A heavy rain advisory is in place for the capital area, and the heavy rain warning has been issued for the mountainous regions on Jeju Island. Meanwhile, heat wave alerts stay in place for most of the southern provinces. And this afternoon, Daegu and Gyeongju will be getting up to 33 degrees Celsius, Seoul, Chuncheon topping out at 29 degrees. Now, central regions will stay mostly sunny for the rest of the week, and we can look forward to much more comfortable temperatures next week for sure.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.
해금은 두 줄로 된 현악기인데 저도 처음에 시작하게 된 거는 그 두 줄에서 너무 다양한 소리가 나오는 게 너무 신기했고, 일단 해금이 되게 사람의 목소리랑 좀 비슷하다고 많이들 하세요. 줄을 눌러서 이렇게 음을 계속 왔다 갔다 진동하는 그런 형태를 띠고 있다 보니까 애절하다라고 많이 말씀을 해주시는 것 같아요. 이 곡은 제가 좀 오래 좋아했던 친구에 대한 제 여러 감정을 담은 곡인데요. 슬펐던 마음, 혹은 뭐 고마웠던 마음, 이런 여러 가지 감정들을 한데 묶어서 마음이 담긴 곡이라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 현대적인 음악으로 이제 재구성하는 단계를 거칠 때 항상 중요하게 생각하는 거는 음악의 분위기를 해치지 않는 선에서는 뭔가 전통적인 주법들, 식임새, 이런 전통의 냄새라고 할까요? 맛? 이런 걸 살릴 수 있는 요소들을 좀 집어넣으려고 하는 편이에요. 저는 요새 연주하면서도 스스로가 마음도 편하고 몸도 편안한 음악들을 좀 자주 들려드리고 싶다. 제가 음악으로 위로받았던 것처럼 제가 하는 음악들로 여러분들이 좀 위로받을 수 있는 순간이 있었으면 좋겠다. 그런 무대를 만들려고 노력해야겠다라는 생각을 했던 것 같습니다.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Monday, September 1st here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Cheska.
Wow, September and it's Monday.
Time goes by so fast. So cute with us.
Happy Monday. Thanks for having me.
Happy Monday. Both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So as it's Monday, and to start off our work week, we're diving into one of the hottest fashion trends right now. It's a bold style that's been making waves on social media and in everyday street fashion. And speaking of hot, it's already September, but weather here in Korea still feels like we're in the middle of the summer. And that makes us think about what we choose to wear when the temperature just won't cool down. So before we get into today's topic, let's start with something more relatable and personal. So Cheska, do you have a go-to style you like to wear when it's this hot and also now it's humid as well?
I know. I think it's the worst combination we can possibly think of. And I actually do, because it's so humid hot on the outside, but it's always air conditioned and almost freezing on the inside. I notice it can be so easy to actually get sick quickly because I'm already dripping with water and then I'm stepping into somewhere so cold. So what I started to do was I carry like a very sheer long sleeve cover up either in my bag or sort of tied around my waist. So it also serves as a mini blanket because I always wear shorts because it's so hot, so I can sort of cover it up for a little bit. I think it's kind of practical and also useful at the same time.
That's a good tip. So what about you, Kyun?
You know, sometimes you don't want to wear anything when it's this hot and humid, but
please wear something.
Okay, I am wearing something, thank God. But besides wearing like shorts and short sleeve shirts, I think about the type of material of the clothes I wear. So, for example, I wouldn't wear denim shorts, but rather choose like material that's made from cotton. And also, if you're sick of wearing the simple t-shirt all the time, you can wear like a button-up shirt made of thin, sweat-proof garment that could help you look very stylish and dry throughout the day, because sometimes when it gets really sweaty, I mean, your armpits start sweating and like without knowing, you'll just raise your hands and people can see a big wet patch and that could be very embarrassing. And lastly, I would avoid wearing the color black when I have to actually travel outside during the hottest time of the day.
These are all really good tips. So lately, we've been seeing some unique fashion trends emerge, especially among the Gen Z. One of the boldest is also what we're talking about today, underwear as outerwear look, which might sound surprising at first. So can you tell us more about this particular trend, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a bold fashion trend, as you mentioned, Sujin, much like its name, among Koreans' MZ generation, especially Gen Z. It's called underwearing, wearing underwear-inspired pieces as outerwear. So now a lot of K-pop celebrities like Blackpink, Karina and Gangneung have all been showcasing similar looks either as stage outfits or even casual wear. And I think it sort of fueled people's interest as they are the leaders in fashion and trend, influencing a lot of Gen Z people. Now, according to fashion platform data, online searches for underwearing jumped more than 10 times in July and August compared to last year. And sales of these low-rise pants, which sort of hangs low, skyrocketed by more than 900%. And this is a shift towards shorter, more cropped and body-revealing clothes. And these are sort of the styles that blur the line between what we call underwear and everyday fashion, thus called underwearing.
So when we talk about underwear as outerwear, it can actually mean a lot of different styles. So what are some of the different looks or variations that fall under this trend, Kim?
There are quite a number of underwear styles. So to give our viewers a clearer visual understanding of what these styles are, let's take a look at the screen. So for your information, although these people in the pictures look like real attractive Korean Gen Zs you would see at the Han River or Gangnam Station, but they're actually AI-generated images.
Wow.
Okay?
They look so real.
They do. So the pictures you're looking at now, they're called baby T-shirts. Just like the name suggests, they look super undersized, where to a point where it actually looks like T-shirts for babies. People who wear them will have their belly buttons and their waist revealed. And it has a very tight fit due to its material. It's made of a very stretchy garment. And the second lot you see is called the camisole look, which is a type of sleeveless women's undergarment, or it's called spaghetti straps, according to women. And it is now worn as an outerwear, which would traditionally be worn as an innerwear. So they can be now styled as outerwear or layering pieces under jackets and cardigans. And lastly, the hip, now trending style is called low rise or sagging, where pants, jeans or shorts are worn low on the hips to reveal the top part of the underwear, where you can see, as you can see, the band, the top band of the underwear. Back in the day, I remember actually sagging myself, or even low riding, we used to call it, because it was a very cool thing to do among the cool kids. And I would actually deliberately wear my pants below my waistline.
No, you didn't.
And revealing like the top part of my boxes, and it was a cool thing to do.
Well, that's what Korea. I never I never saw anyone that actually wore this type of.
In Korea, I tried, and a lot of adults, including my dad, was saying, "What's going on? What's wrong with your pants?
Did he
you poo in your pants?" Because in Korea they say "똥싼바지." It looks
true.
like
it's very weighted.
It's very weighted on the bottom.
Wait, did you ever have it fall off? That's like the biggest concern.
It did every now and then, but I thought of it was like it was a cool thing to do. I mean, like I didn't feel any shame because I was too young to feel shame. I don't know, but I was being rebellious as well. But because we were wearing boxes, and that was another trendy thing back then, instead of wearing like just the triangle underwear.
The trunk.
Yeah, the trunk. So it's like, it was very different. It felt like just wearing another short pants inside the pants. So it was actually cool to actually reveal part of my boxes.
To show what boxes you're wearing?
Yeah, like different types.
Would you ever wear that now?
No, even if someone paid me, I wouldn't do it.
I would pay him not to wear.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. If he wants to wear, I would pay him so that he wouldn't.
So Cheska, this underwear's outerwear look is bold, it's eye-catching, sometimes even a bit controversial, clearly. So yet we're seeing so many young people embrace it with confidence. So why do you think this particular generation in particular is so drawn to this kind of fashion statement?
No, it's very interesting. A lot of fashion watchers point to three main reasons, and the first one is obviously the influence of celebrities and especially K-pop stars. So when top stars that people look up to, especially the Gen Z generation, step out in these bold looks, their fans quickly quickly follow, thus I think the greater demographic being the Gen Z. Second is the revival of the Y2K trends. Kiwan sort of talked about it, but styles like sagging pants, they were actually kind of a symbol of the 90s American hip hop. And I think that's how the guys in Korea sort of adopted it because they thought it was cool. And it's now making a comeback and inspiring a new generation. And lastly, it could be seen as a cultural and generation shift. Now, for many in the MZ generation, underwear is no longer just functional. They see it as a styling item. And I think young people are very eager to express their individuality and embrace something that they want to do rather than thinking too much about what other people might think. So I think the bold look sort of represents the boldness of the generation and the individuality, yeah.
And it's so cool to see like trends making a comeback. 'Cause I remember like when we were younger, like I saw like Justin Bieber always wearing those sagging.
That's true, yeah.
And then recently there's a new group called Oldboy Project, and one of the members, I don't know if you've seen it, he went on a variety show and he was wearing those sagging pants. And do you remember what the response was like?
They were quite shocked. They're like, why are you wearing so many layers of underwear? But he was saying like this was part of the fashion.
Right.
And like the older panelists, the male panelists, they were quite shocked to see that. But then I guess that just shows a stark difference among generations.
Right. And seeing trends come back and then the different views. So the idea of wearing underwear as outerwear may feel empowering and stylish to younger people, but from the perspective of older generations, like Hyun said, it can sometimes come across as uncomfortable or even inappropriate. So has this sparked any controversy or debate around this trend, Hyun?
It definitely has. And like I mentioned before, the older generation would see these styles in a completely different way to the younger generation, not viewing it as a sense of fashion, but rather very inappropriate and a wrong way of wearing clothes. In fact, some localities, cities, towns and school districts in the States have actually banned the sagging attire in public places, stating that it was very vulgar and disrespectful. Underwear is normally obviously meant to be worn inside and kept covered, but since the sagging exposes it, it made a lot of people feel very uncomfortable and even embarrassed to actually see them in public. Again, we're seeing this huge clash of differences in perspectives in terms of what are clothes meant to be? They're meant to be worn as comfort, as a style, as a free way of expressing themselves. And on the other end, people are feeling very uncomfortable and like kind of disturbed, and it's like they're saying it's unpleasant to the eye. So I think it's a big generation gap. It's not about what's wrong with these kind of clothes, it's about different perspectives.
So like you said, there's so many different perspectives about this trend. So to learn more about it, we're going to speak with someone who's been keeping an eye on fashion trends, and that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined today by Alexandra, fashion writer from Melbourne. Hi, Alexandra. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
So has underwear as outerwear fashion actually become a mainstream trend, or do you think it's still more niche?
Well, I think it depends on where you are. In Australia, at the moment, it's quite cold, but we are entering summer very soon, so we're definitely going to see a lot of people embracing the trend. Specifically in Australia, we do love wearing bike shorts with oversized t-shirts. A lot of people like to wear sheer dresses with matching underwear sets underneath. And although it's usually for more of the brave people, it is becoming quite a mainstream trend that we're seeing on the streets everywhere.
And as the summer is coming, what do you think is going to make the underwear trend popular or has made it popular? And what do you think are its visual and, if there's any, functional benefits?
Yeah, so wearing underwear as outerwear has been a trend for a long time. My mind goes back to Madonna with Jean-Paul Gaultier. It goes to Carrie Bradshaw when she fell on the runway. And of course, as you mentioned, the hip-hop influence was one of the biggest trends in the 90s and 2000s. And a lot of Gen Z really love embracing the Y2K aesthetic. So you're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of people yanking their underwear up so you can see them. They used to be called the whale tail. which is the G-string that is above the pants. Not my personal favorite, but it's a big trend. And a lot of designers like Miu Miu and Balenciaga have also been pushing this underwear as pants on the runways. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of fashion designers bringing that out as well. In terms of practicality, it's great for summer, because if you're very hot, it's much more freeing. You can breathe a little bit. It's also great if you haven't done your laundry for a while, because you can use it as a fashion excuse. But other than that, I really do think it's more of an aesthetic thing. And I don't think the trend is going to go anywhere either, because fashion is cyclical. So every 10 to 20 years, we're going to see the same trends coming back in a new way. So I really expect this to just last a while.
Alexandra, do you think this trend will continue to be popular in the future? If so, what styles or variations might emerge from your point of view?
So I do expect to see a lot more of the underwear as outerwear adapted in different ways. So we're probably going to be seeing people wearing tiny little hot pants with a pair of stockings during winter to try and keep their legs warm, or having a bra strap showing underneath a dress. We've seen that a lot on the runways and red carpets as well. So it's finding new ways and innovative ways to show your underwear as outerwear that might not be so offensive. And a few years ago, it was considered quite tacky or obscene, but now as it's becoming more of a mainstream trend, celebrities are starting to do it. A lot of fashion icons like Kendall Jenner and Barbara Palvin have been wearing them everywhere. So I think that that's going to be one of the biggest trends.
All right, we look forward to seeing what trends will be popping up. So thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
So we just heard from someone who's closely connected to the fashion industry in Australia about how the underwear as outerwear trend is evolving and whether it's likely to stick around. And to get a better sense of what people really think about this bold style, we're going to switch things up a little bit right now with a quick OX quiz to hear Cheska and Kyun's own thoughts on some of the more debated aspects of this trend. So you guys all have your paddles ready to go.
Yes, we are.
The first question is, should this trend be restricted or even banned in public spaces? Do you agree or disagree? So Cheska, let's start with you.
I would say X for this one.
Okay.
Because I value freedom and expression. And I think fashion is one of the ways that people can actually express their personal preferences. So while I am conservative and I think there are some things that do need to be regulated, banning it, I think, is a bit too much.
Bit too extreme.
Yeah, a bit too extreme.
Okay, what about you, Kyun?
I'm actually on the other side.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see.
When you talk about...
Sagging pants, man.
Why not? I mean, no, actually. Why I think there should be kind of regulations and be banned is when you talk about public places, it could be places where there could be a lot of children and the elderly as well. And when you look at these two demographics, children, they might look at women wearing like their baby t-shirts or spaghetti straps, and like guys like me seeing a lot of underwear sagging down. They might think that could be the normal way of dressing up, and even though it's not quite normal, it's not seen as normal right now, they might be easily influenced by seeing them in the public areas. So, but when I say public areas, it's basically anywhere outside your home, from like parks, libraries, even hospitals.
Yes, public transportation.
Exactly, even public transportation. So like what Cheska said, maybe like wearing something on top when you're in these kind of places, just to be mindful of like people around you. And then maybe just take it off when you're in a more comfortable setting or place, could be one option.
So the next question is it okay for teenagers to wear this style, Cheska?
Yes. Kind of goes with the first answer that I gave. It's a personal freedom, but I just want to point out one thing. That's the reason I hesitated. I think a lot of teenagers are already very influenced by what they see and what they aspire to, and especially our generation, there's a lot of body dysmorphia and body image issues. So I do fear that these cropped, tiny shirt is only going to exacerbate or worsen the obsession people feel or the pressure they feel about the weight or the body image issue, which they shouldn't.
I guess this kind of goes along with what you said about public spaces, because young children might see it and like, so they might be subject to that, exposed to that more. But what are your thoughts on this part? So eggs.
Eggs. You know, I think teenagers need a bit more protection and care and attention while they grow up from parents and the general public. I say this because they're in that age group where they're easily influenced, and that could really shape their kind of mindset as they grow up. But I think because they're still young, I guess vulnerable, they need to be a bit more educated in terms of what is appropriate, what is seen as appropriate to wear in public places. And just like how drinking and smoking has a legal age, I think kind of not being able to wear like things that reveal too much of your skin could be kind of regulated. But again, it's not something that should be implemented right away because it's really hard to draw a fine line as to like how much you can wear, how much you cannot wear. So I think it really depends on like the occasion, places, and the time. TPO.
I think the context is really important, like you said.
But I do agree with Kyun. I think teenagers do or could use guidance from parents and adults.
Right, especially young children, But do you think, the last one is, do you think it's acceptable for K-pop idols or celebrities to wear this type of fashion if it leads to revealing a lot of skin? Could this trend set a problematic example for fans or younger audiences?
That's a really good question. But if I had to choose, I would go with X because again, it goes back to the point of fashion being one form of expression, and especially K-pop idols are still artists, so they do have to wear or should be allowed to express it in a different diversity. But I want to bring some examples of in the former Korean broadcast, if you guys remember, they used to actually ban any type of cropped shirt. Like it wasn't even revealing too much, but just cropped shirts or mini skirts or even like spaghetti straps. So if we look back, we see them as being too much regulation. So it's really important to decide when we settle like regulation or how much, because too much can actually put more pressure and more obsession over what I can do and the expression of my freedom. So, yeah.
What about you, Kyun?
I think of it quite differently. In terms of how it can be problematic to children or the younger people, the audience, I think as idols and celebrities, a lot of these young people look up to them and just want to be like them. And that includes the way they dress up.
That's very true.
That's true.
So that can easily shape their thoughts and even identity. And they may think of as wearing these kind of clothes as something cool, something normal. But right now, the general public, they're quite against it, especially the older generation show. I think idols should be a bit more careful in terms of what they actually show, reveal, and say, this is, maybe they can say, oh, this is only for like, you know, media. It's
right.
It's not because
for stage outfits,
exactly,
not for daily
it's an
outfits.
outfit. It's not something I would wear every day.
Exactly,
so if they can actually say that to the audience, if they can, I mean, I guess it will be a better influence for the younger children, younger generation.
It's especially relevant because there's so many young people debuting, and like, you know, groups like New Jeans, I think they did a pretty good job of like, you know, wearing appropriate clothing. That's why that got them a lot of fans. But at the same time, like you said, like with K-pop evolving so much, it's like difficult to place restrictions on them as well.
Exactly, because fashion also is what pushed K-pop to the global stage as well. So
it's hard, So it's clear that fashion is always evolving, and some trends really push the boundaries. And one of the boldest we're seeing right now is this underwear as outerwear trend. And this trend has captured the attention of Gen Zs and sparked debates across generations. So is it a daring fashion statement, a form of self-expression, or just too controversial? So to get a better sense of where our viewers this time stand on this issue, we conducted a poll on the Editing News YouTube channel asking people what their take is on the underwear as outerwear fashion. So 21% of respondents said they would wear it if they had the body for it. Meanwhile, 26% said they wouldn't wear it themselves, but are perfectly fine with others embracing the trend. However, the majority, 53%, felt that it's just not a good look. So that's quite interesting because the majority basically said it was not a good look. So to wrap up our discussion today, let's look ahead this time. So how do you see fashion trends like underwear as outerwear evolving in the future? Will bold, daring styles continue to dominate? Or do you think we might see a shift back towards more conservative, understated looks? So what are your thoughts on this, Chesline?
You know, I think fashion has always been a cyclical trend. It comes and goes. So I don't think we can get any smaller or any more cropped than where we are right now, because as we saw in the images, teenagers. We have like one hand-sized baby shirts. But little joke aside, I do hope that one of my biggest concern for this is that there's so much body dysmorphia and obsession with being at a certain size around the world. So for a lot of teenagers, I don't want there to be a negative ripple effect from these type of fashion trends. So in that sense, I do hope we see more variety of fashion, quote, length and width for a lot of people.
So what's like a trend do you think could be more inclusive that would be really good
That's a great question. So I have one of my best friends is a plus size model, and she told me that the clothes have to be designed differently depending on the size of women, because their body shapes and proportions are different. And so far, a lot of the clothes are catered to a very specific average size models. So that could be something that could change in the fashion industry. Yeah.
There are inclusive trends that could be really popular as
Exactly.
well. So what about you, Kian? What do you think this type of bold fashion, like underwears, outerwear, says about the values and self-expression of the younger generations?
Like what Cheska just mentioned, trends come and go. So I think before we jump into like quick conclusions, coming up with regulations, banning these kind of clothing in public, I think we should just be a bit more patient and just see if this kind of just wanes out, dies out. I know it's cyclical, but the more attention we put in, the more backlash we're going to see, and like more conflict, and then more people will see, hey, what's wrong with this, and become rebellious and start wearing it even more to have this kind of mindset. But I think on the flip side, what you wear is part of obviously one's freedom in a free country. But once you start affecting the general public and even harming others, I think more thought needs to be considered to find a common ground moving forward.
I agree. So from its growing popularity among Gen Zs to debates it sparks across generations, it's clear that fashion isn't just about clothes. It's a reflection of personal expression, social attitudes, and cultural shifts. So whether you love it, hate it, or just find it interesting to watch, these trends show how fashion continues to push boundaries and challenge norms. So we'll also be keeping an eye on how it evolves, so stay tuned for the next bold trend that might just take social media by storm. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation, but News Gen will be back at 10:30 a.m. Korea time tomorrow. So big thanks to Cheska.
Pleasure, thank you.
And Kyun.
Thanks for having me.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for watching. And we are News Generation.
Country where traditional and modern cultures coexist.
Where you can explore spectacular landscapes and nature.
Savor the delights of traveling at every turn.
Where? Korea, of course.
There are some must-visit places in Korea. Ones that appear in every tour guidebook: Hangang River, Gyeongbokgung Palace from the Joseon Dynasty, and...
Yes, these are essentials, but I want to go somewhere a little different. I don't have to follow the guidebook. For example, filming locations for K-pop music videos or K-dramas and movies.
Traveling is all about taking it slow. A long walk at your own pace, or even zoning out somewhere quiet. Doesn't it sound relaxing?
You travel for the experience, trying something new in a foreign place, de-stressing and making lifetime memories, taking tons of pictures along the way.
70% of the Korean territory is mountainous. Naturally, hiking is a very popular pastime in Korea. Not your kind of activity? Trust me, the view will make the effort worth it. Just catch your breath by the cold stream in the valley.
Korea is surrounded by the sea on three sides. From the beach, you can enjoy a wide open view, as well as various water activities. But the riverside is great too. There's plenty to see and do.
If you're in Korea, you can't miss the night view full of dazzling lights.
Yes, even